Brought to you from Melbourne, Australia, this is the Badminton Podcast, a community for badminton players by badminton players, where we talk badminton, celebrate local heroes, interview players from all walks of life, and push you to grow as a player and a person. Introducing your hosts, Jeff and Henry.
Welcome to the Badminton Podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Henry.
And we're the co-founders of Volant, the brand that offers the world's most versatile badminton apparel. We're here because we really love badminton and we want to speak to players, fans, and everyone involved so that we can hear their stories, we can learn from them, and really build our badminton community. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode. We're really excited to introduce our guest for today.
Today we have a very special guest, one that we were hoping to find in our very first few podcasts, someone that has actually switched from badminton to tennis. His name is Ernest Ng. He works full-time at Kayo Fox Sports. He's very passionate about racket sports and recently transitioned from badminton to tennis after competing in badminton for a number of years. For him, working in the sporting entertainment industry is like a dream come true.
There are a lot of people out there that will doubt you automatically, but just remember that never doubt yourself. Going to work for a company that lives and breathes sports in any kind, AFL, NRL, tennis, badminton, hockey, you name it, right? And actually share it with the whole of Australia. That's like a dream come true for any athlete to even work there, I would say.
He said that it's like picking up his rackets, heading to the badminton court every day, but not having to change shirts every hour. Thanks so much for coming on to the podcast, Ernest.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's great to be having my first podcast, actually. I have never done a podcast before, so this is going to be very exciting.
Is there anything you want to share with our podcast listeners before we continue then, Ernest, as it is your first time?
Well, this is going to be my first podcast. So, I'm just here to actually share my experience in badminton and tennis now, and how it's actually going to be transitioned into some of our daily lives as well.
And Ernest, I know on today that we're doing the recording, you're actually in Sydney and you're playing at Sydney Olympic Park. Is that correct?
I just finished about 3 hours training session in the morning. So straight after this podcast, I'm just going to pick up my rackets as the strings were getting a bit tired. So I get it done and going to have another couple of hour sessions from 5 to 7 before dinner.
And just confirming that this is for tennis today, not badminton?
No, I haven't picked up a badminton racket since the Clendenin Shield this year, which was in Hobart, which is I think about February. So I haven't picked up a badminton racket since. I'm just enjoying playing tennis for the moment.
It's really funny because on one of our previous episodes, we interviewed Stuart Rowland and he's in Adelaide. And we were talking about people transitioning from tennis to badminton and that we knew a lot of people in that boat, but we didn't really know that many people transitioning from badminton to tennis. So this is a bit of an interesting conversation I think we're going to have today, Ernest.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
So when we go back to your badminton story, when was it that you started playing badminton?
I started playing about the age of 8 or 9 years old. So very early in my days, just playing with my brothers, just in the backyard, as we couldn't afford any court hire. We weren't too wealthy at that time, so we just play over our little gate that we have, and just use it as a net, and we just play through there.
And whereabouts was that?
That was back in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. Most houses over there are just gated. And we use that gate as quite a high net. I'm quite sure it's more than the usual BWF kind of height. And we just played from, straight after school, and we just pick up our rackets and just play.
And was it something that you just enjoyed doing with your family, or did you go and play with your friends?
I started off with my family because my dad was always working really late. So my brothers and I and my mom, we are all very close because mom stayed on as a housewife, and she looks after us and pick us up from school and stuff. So those days, we didn't have mobile phones, you see. So the only thing you can do is play sports. So straight after from school, we just started hitting till dinner time.
So it was almost like a family bonding experience for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much it was actually.
Is this something that, do you often go back to Malaysia regularly now? Or?
Not too much at this because of work, and most of my daily lives is now based in Australia. But I do go back once a year at the absolute minimum for Chinese New Year to see the whole family. And that's pretty much it.
And please tell me you do still play badminton with your family when you go back?
No, actually, most people, my two brothers are married now, so they're all very busy with their family life. But when we can, we will actually probably head down to the courts. Now we can actually afford to actually play in the courts, so we'll most likely have a hit here and there, but socially.
Sure. And when did you come over to Australia?
Came over, I remember very well, that was in the Olympics year of 2008 in Beijing. So I remember that was the year I came in, and that's when I studied in University of Tasmania. So I was in Tassie in Hobart. So started off my Australian life there.
And so you said that you played in the Clendenin Shield earlier this year. I mean, when and how serious did you get with badminton? Just so our audience understands where you come from in terms of badminton.
Yeah, so actually as a person, I'm very competitive and I want to do the best I can and try to reach for the stars. So I played in Australia Open as well. I remember one of my first Australia Open I think you were playing, Jeff, I think you were playing against Bonsa at MSAC, if I'm not mistaken. So that was one of my first Australian Open participation. That was in Melbourne in MSAC. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was still a Grand Prix at that time. Up to, I think the last Australia Open I played was in Sydney, and that was in 2013 or 14. And this year, the last match I think I played was against one of my very good friends, Chris Barker, and he's down in Hobart.
That's strange. I don't remember ever playing Boonsack.
Did you?
Yeah, I've never played Boonsack in my life. It would have been nice to play Boonsack, but I've never played him before. Do you remember which year that was?
Yeah, I can't remember actually. If I'm not mistaken, it will be 2010 or 2011.
I'm not too sure. I can't remember exactly who I played then, but yeah. That's really cool. So you've obviously continued to play for a long time. So what got you to keep playing? What do you love about badminton?
I just love the competitiveness of it, and I like fast sports. So badminton is, if not sure if for the audience, badminton is actually the fastest racket sport in the world. Yeah, shuttles goes up to 425 kilometers an hour. The reaction time you need and the speed, and of course the power play, especially smashes coming up at about 400 Ks. You just really have to get adrenaline feel that I like playing, especially in competitively.
And so when you're in Tasmania, you were playing. So where are you based at the moment?
Currently, I'm based in Sydney. So I moved up from Hobart probably about 4 years ago. So 2015, I moved up to Sydney and started down as a student. After I graduated, I got a job in Hobart and continued on there till 2015 and moved up to Sydney, to the big city, they said.
And you would continue to play in Sydney?
Yeah, I continue to play in Sydney. There's a place called the National Badminton Academy here. I think it's called NBC. So I think it's run by some of the local people here. And they run very good classes and they have tournaments here as well. So I continue to play there until beginning of this year.
Okay, so then tell us what happened. How did you decide to move from badminton into tennis?
Yeah, so I think it came to a stage that I wanted some change in my life because I've been playing for a number of years, and I thought, I think it's probably to try something new, but I would like to stay in racket sports. So I tried playing squash, but for some reason I didn't quite get the game and I didn't get how to actually play. Probably because is that I'm so used to playing against someone, because squash you're actually playing against the wall and the wall bounce back to your opponent. Whereas tennis is like, it's a big badminton court to me. So most of the rules kind of still applies, your singles lines and your doubles lines. So started playing from there and, then signed up for some group lessons and just went from there.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I, like many other badminton players, switched from tennis to badminton and found similarities there between the two sports. But they are entirely different sports and you do need to learn a different set of skill set to actually perform quite well in it. How have you found your journey in tennis so far?
In the beginning was probably a bit tougher because as badminton players, the courts are a little bit smaller. And of course, the power you need to actually get to one point to the other will be less, but you need to be fast. Whereas tennis, you need to have this term called topspin. So when you actually play, you need to have a lot more power and a lot more topspin to keep the ball within the court, so it won't fly out. So in the beginning, when I was playing, I'm not sure how many balls that I lost, that actually is all flying around everywhere. And the coach was like, no, you need to hit it within the court, and we need to teach you something called topspin. So you can kind of imagine that if you do a badminton lift, you can kind of see where the ball is going to go.
Over the fence, right?
Yeah.
Probably went to a couple of courts away,
or into some houses, or over the road, or
yeah. So that was something new that I have to learn, and most importantly, I have to adapt to learn to play the game. So that was quite funny in the beginning, but I was like, okay, I need to actually learn this, because if I don't learn this correctly, I won't be able to play.
That's true, because it is completely different in my opinion as well. Even though as a badminton player, you will have a lot of the hand-eye coordination required, and the service for me is relatively straightforward just because it's a simple overhead shot, even if that's not the right technique for a tennis serve. But it is the ground strokes that sometimes can be a little bit trickier. So when you look back at, say, your badminton career, and you've been playing for a long time and you've had a lot of experience in badminton, and then you look at, say, your life and how it's turned out for you in terms of both your sport, your competitiveness, your career, your work, your professionalism, all those kinds of things. How has badminton changed your personal and professional life?
Actually, to be honest, badminton has changed my life completely. Actually, kind of organized my life, I would say. And I just to share some light on that is that, say, for example, if I'm going to train the next morning, and when I was in Tasmania, I was training with one of these coaches. His name is Matt Gilly, and until today, he's still one of my mentors and good friends. If I need to train with him, I need to smash at least 100 times, 100 shuttlecocks per session for that day, for that session within 2 hours. And there's no way I can actually do that if I don't sleep well, I don't eat well. And, if I have a big night out, I won't be able to do that the next morning. So having badminton training sessions, having tournaments, and just as a whole, helps me to actually be healthy, number one thing, be very organized, and have very good time management. So these three things all ties up to a big objective of mine, is to have what's my goal for that for the year. So, if I want to be a very good player, if I want to win a tournament, or even though, just in work life as well. If you have all these three, like eating healthy, have good time management and good organization, it really structures my whole work professional life and also my sporting career.
It sounds like badminton created a structure for you around your entire life.
Yeah, I would say that. Yes.
I'll have to reiterate how important badminton was for me personally as well, because I was doing morning sessions, afternoon sessions, before, after school, before and after university classes. And it really helps you to value your time, because if you've got a lot of time, you tend to waste it. But when you are doing all these things and you know that you need to be here at a certain time and you need to give 100%, then the amount of time that you waste is a lot less.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And that actually helps, just to stay focused on what you want to achieve or what I want to achieve at that time. So, totally. I mean, I'm so happy that I even picked up a racket when I was, at the age of 8 until today.
So speaking of rackets, Ernest, how have you found the difference in racket weight between badminton and tennis? Were you struggling at the start, and have you sort of picked it up now and got used to it?
I thought that was going to be one of my challenge, but the thing is, the rackets these days in tennis are so advanced. I actually don't feel I don't feel that it was a burden to me to even pick up the racket. I'm using a 300 grams Yonex E-Zone 100, and I thought that was going to be a lot heavier than a badminton racket, and I probably can't use it. But took me about a couple of weeks, and I just sort of picked it up. It was fine. Obviously, there are more heavier rackets. I think they're like up to 350 grams, and those are really heavy rackets. But for me, at the 300 grams racket, I find it was perfectly fine, and and it didn't really bother me too much.
So you're saying you got a Yonex tennis racket, Ernest. Is that because of your history with using Yonex potentially in badminton and switching that liking for the brand over?
Yeah, as I did try different types of rackets like Wilson's, Babylets, Technifibers, and Head rackets. But for some reason, Yonex rackets fit me well. I can only speak for myself, because the Yonex racket has an isometric shape, and it actually follows onto the tennis rackets as well. And that makes the racket very user-friendly. And for some reason, when I use a Yonex racket, and it just fits me, it feels like a bigger badminton racket. So it was no harm at all. But I tried using a Wilson racket. Although it was like 300 grams, it was still the same type of weighting. But when I actually did the swing, the forehand swings or even backhand, I don't feel comfortable. And that's when I actually went back to Yonex, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting 4 of those, please.
Oh, wow. 4 of them.
4 of those, please. Yeah.
The shop owner must have been very happy with your purchase.
Yeah, he was like, really? I was like, yep, 4 of those, please.
And you just took all the stock.
No, I'm sure there has been a fair few rackets, but probably a good sale for the day for them.
How many rackets do you have now, or did you buy any extra ones since then?
No, I'm still using the 4 same rackets, because I'm not sure why, but some tennis players takes a while to choose rackets. They do demo after demo after demo, and they kind of not go anywhere. But for me, probably I was lucky. I like Yonex, and I knew this particular grip I like to be measured, and and I was like, yeah, I'll have these ones.
So Ernest, in terms of your tennis career now, so your transition from badminton to tennis, and I did read an article that you wrote and you posted on LinkedIn just about your transition and what people had to say to you and the hard work that you put in to get to where you are in both badminton and tennis. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I thought it was different, because for badminton player to come to tennis, I did had a few people wondering like, why is a badminton player playing tennis? They do not know the sport well. Some of them, just had negative feedbacks, I would say. But that's fine. I mean, in any athlete in their careers would have negative feedbacks, or I call them the naysayers. If people are doubting you, but you shouldn't doubt yourself. That's the way I look at it. So just took up some training lessons and started to learn how the ways to play, and just put in a lot of effort in training and off court, and of course on court as well. So now I'm playing not too bad. I would say I just won my first or they call it league down in tennis on term 4. So term 3, which is last term.
Yeah, that's congratulations on your victory. I know you would have put a lot of hard work to get there.
Yeah, thank you.
Just with what you said earlier about people saying you're transitioning from badminton to tennis, and they probably didn't appreciate how badminton is and what kind of sport it is, what it takes to be a really, really good badminton player. And that kind of comes back to Henry and I, our vision for the reason why we started this podcast, the reason why we started Volant, where our brand is to bring badminton to the forefront and just show people how good of a sport it is and what it actually takes. Because I think a lot of it is just that they're not trying to be mean, they're not trying to be negative about it. They just don't know what it involves. And because they don't know, they just don't think that much of it. Actually, one of our friends, Sam, who was on our podcast in our second episode, believe it or not, he was defending badminton because he played a lot of badminton. He was defending that to all of his work colleagues, that he actually ran a marathon to prove to them that him being an athlete in badminton actually meant something physically. And he ran a marathon to actually show that to people. And that's what it took.
Yeah, the marathon, he's a one determined person.
He was determined to show the world how incredible the sport is, because that's why we love the sport. So that was really interesting to see that tennis coaches or the people you met in tennis just didn't have that appreciation for a sport that is quite similar in terms of rackets and everything like that. And they just don't know. And that's what we really want to do, is we want to bring these people together and show them that it is a sport to be reckoned with, and it is something that you can get a really good workout from. And it is at a high caliber. It is such a good sport at a higher level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people, especially I think the public or any sporting racket fans that is out there, badminton is a very all-rounder sport. You can't be only strong and not fit, right? And play very good badminton. So you need to be strong, you need to be fit, you need to have great agility, and most importantly, you need to have very good mental strength to actually go on court, to actually play very competitively. So understand that, badminton matches may last maximum about an hour to an hour, 1.5. That's a really long badminton match compared to tennis. But the amount of work you have to put in, I would say, is almost similar or even more than tennis, the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's true. I think there was a study about it that I won't be able to quote for you, but yes, the duration was shorter, but then they looked at the intensity, the actual amount of distance moved as well. And there was everything, maybe it was skewed towards badminton, but everything basically was pointing towards badminton being the more challenging and more intense sport. Although I still love tennis. I love watching tennis. I still play tennis with Henry, usually around the Australian Open season when the weather's nice and everyone's really excited about tennis.
When we become tennis professionals ourselves for a good month or so.
I'm sure you can pick it up quite easily. And I think also badminton, because we play 21 points for a set and we play over best of 3 sets. Tennis, you play every 3 games, you can actually have a rest. So that's about 10 badminton points, 9 to 10 badminton points, and you can actually have a rest. And the intervals between each serve is about 45 seconds, whereas badminton is like, let's pick up the shuttle and let's go, it's 20 seconds max.
Yeah, the umpires are always telling us to play.
Yeah, go,
go, keep playing, don't delay play.
Yeah, we can't tower down, we need to get the shuttles going. It needs to be a continuous play. Whereas tennis, you can actually have some timeouts. I'm not saying that this is the reason why tennis is not as competitive as badminton, but I'm saying that, that you actually have the opportunity to actually have a bit of downtime between points compared to badminton.
That's a very interesting point you bring up because, you don't really think about it between the two sports when you're thinking about them. But with badminton, it is sort of uninterrupted play for quite a serious amount of points. And then all of a sudden you get, 2 minutes before the next half. And whereas tennis, like you said, it's 45 seconds in between each game roughly, or every game and third game, depending on, when you're playing professionally anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the few differences I feel that, compared to badminton and tennis.
So Ernest, moving on from your transition from badminton to tennis now, and we're looking a little bit at your career and what you're doing. You said that you had a dream job and it was like going to play badminton every day and not having to change a t-shirt. I'm assuming that the changing t-shirt is related to how much you're sweating. That is actually true. Yes, that's well, it's not for any other reason why you just need to change your t-shirt randomly.
No.
But what do you mean by that? What do you do at the moment, and what do you mean by it being as fun as going to play badminton every day?
Yeah, so currently I'm not sure if you heard. So Kayo Sports, which is like Netflix Sports, and you can get it now on your mobile and your iPad. So they're all part of Fox Sports. So Fox Sports is Australia's, entertainment, sporting industry. So that's the company that is just based in Sydney. And having been an athlete for such a long time and still, playing at a high level, or probably will try to play high level for tennis, going to work for a company that lives and breathes sports in any kind, AFL, NRL, tennis, badminton, hockey, you name it, right? And actually share it with the whole of Australia. That's like a dream come true for any athlete to even work there, I would say.
Did you find that when you were actually applying for the position, that when you could talk about badminton and what you're doing with tennis, that it really helped your application or your interview or the selection into the position?
Absolutely. Actually, I think they looked me up before even I went for the interview. And when I went for the interview, my current manager was interviewing me, and we were talking about careers and stuff. And he's like saying, "Oh, why you actually stop playing badminton? It's a good sport, and and we have seen your profiles before, so why the change?" So I spoke about, how I can actually move from badminton to tennis for a different change. It's more challenging, and I thought that, there will come to a part in my life that maybe it's time to move on and try something new. So it actually helped me in getting this job, definitely. And it actually helps me to put my foot forward as a person that adapts to his environment really well. And most importantly, can work with a lot of people from different departments. So that's a very good CV to put out for me.
Well, before we continue, Ernest, I must know, does Kayo Sports broadcast badminton at all?
Not at this stage. I actually tried to push that forward, but
I was going to say, can you change that?
But I did ask that question, and I think currently now is being done by another company that is has all the all the Sydney Internationals and Perth International. I think it was Oval Online or something.
Over. Yes, I do remember Over. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they having the rights to actually stream badminton. Well, never know. Maybe one day that might change.
Yeah, how can we get the rights?
Well, I have to probably ask a few questions on that one. But if I'm not mistaken, there's like a certain time they actually get signed up. The Oval must have signed like, a certain amount of time with badminton that to broadcast badminton. And, that's the time they're locked into the contract.
Yes, sure. So we can hopefully have you to keep pushing Kayo to bid for the badminton position so that we can all see that here.
Yes.
And not just nationally, but the international ones as well, potentially.
Yeah, especially like the BWF China Open. I'm very excited to actually even see like, All England and also World Championships even on Kayo. So we'll see how we go with that one.
I'll be sure to tune in if it's on Kayo.
Yeah.
You've got 2 extra customers over here.
Oh, really? Yes.
So for someone who's applying for a position, do you think that if they're related to any sport in any way, whether it's badminton or tennis or anything, do you think that they should definitely put that forward as one of the things that separates them from the crowd?
Absolutely, 110%. I would completely support that because if you play sports at a competitive level, you're just not going to go there and take a racket, put in your bag, and off you go. From my experience, people that play competitive sports are very organized and they're very passionate. And most importantly, they work well in a team environment. So if you are a competitive player in the sports or you're even a sports athlete, I would highly support that you actually do that.
And it's moving on from the jobs and the career and you being in your dream job. You've also mentioned to me previously that you were part of an initiative that you were giving back to badminton and you were really proud of doing that. Can you tell me about what that program was?
Yeah, so I worked closely when I was in Tasmania. This is down in Hobart, where I worked closely with the Sports Commission, Australia Sports Commission at the time, and Badminton Australia to promote badminton to the community. It's called the Culturally, Linguistically and Diverse Program. So basically what we're doing is that we are opening up the doors of our badminton center to anyone, regardless of color, regardless of race. We all come here to pick a racket and play badminton. So that was me trying to remove the glass ceiling of, okay, there's only good players comes to South Hobart Badminton Center to play. It's not that, and you don't need a ranking to come and play. So what we did is that we totally removed the glass ceiling on that and promote badminton to the whole community of Hobart, to universities, to schools, and also just to everyone around the area that come and play, pick a racket, and you'll be so surprised. There are so many people out there has never seen badminton and they actually love playing badminton, especially in Hobart's cold weather. And it's indoors and it's heated. So we got a lot of people in the doors and started to pick up their racket for their first time.
Oh, that's great. And is it still happening now when you're in Sydney? Is someone else taking over?
Yeah, as far as I know, there was just the grants are still happening. So there are just people running on the weekends now. They have casual heat sessions, or they call it come and try. So come and try badminton, and they have like a few courts being booked out. You pay $8 or $10 or something like that, and we give the rackets and shuttle and just play.
Yeah, we love that you enjoy really giving back to the sport. We were actually lucky enough yesterday to have a chat with the founder of Solibad. Have you heard of Solibad before?
Yes, yes, absolutely. They do a lot of work for Indigenous and also culturally people in Australia.
Yeah, so we were talking about the programs that are overseas in South America. There's one in Indonesia. What they're doing there to really bring badminton to people who don't have the opportunity, who just don't have the resources or the money, or it's fantastic to see. And the smiles that the kids have on their faces when they pick up a racket and they can play badminton is something that is really rewarding. for us to see as well as the founder. So it's really great to see that you are giving back, and hopefully that program is still happening in Tasmania, where we're trying to get more and more people to play and give it a try.
As far as I know, to my understanding, it's still happening every weekend.
Every weekend. Okay, cool. So anyone who's in Tasmania who's listening to this, make sure you check out, what association is that again, Ernest?
It's Southern Tasmanian Badminton Association. That's down near Hobart. It's in Hobart. You cannot miss it because it's on Cascade Road. And those people that have a few drinks before, Cascade is actually the beer factory. So it's just behind the beer factory.
So do you get a lot of intoxicated or slightly drunk people coming to play badminton? Have you experienced that then?
Well, funny enough, no. In my whole life, in the Hobart since 2008, since I left, there's not one person actually that is drunk or anything that comes up to say, can I play some badminton? So I was like, probably it's just the factories over there, and it's not like you have a pub there or anything. But yeah, it's just the factory. They actually brew the things.
Have you ever played drunk before?
Probably I played when I was a hangover. I remember that was my birthday, the day after my birthday. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, I've never played drunk before either. I've definitely played when I was hungover, and my coaches hopefully didn't know at that time when that was happening. But I haven't actually played drunk. Have you, Henry?
No, I haven't. It sounds like we all take our badminton very seriously here.
Yeah, I think we might want to try it one day. But I think hangover is as the best I can do at this stage to play badminton, given it's such a high adrenaline sport.
Well, we'll hold you to that. If you come visit us in Melbourne, we're gonna have to try this out. Okay, sorry, podcast listeners. I don't know if this is appropriate for you, but we will record it if Ernest comes to Melbourne, and we will make sure to show everyone what badminton is like drunk. Anyway, moving on. So Ernest, I want to finish up now just by asking you the final question for our listeners. If you could please give us 3 take-home pieces of advice or actions you'd recommend for someone listening that involves what you have learned as a badminton player and how that has transitioned into your tennis life as well as your professional life.
Yeah, so I got 3 for everyone that's listening. It doesn't matter what you do in life. What I can tell you is that you got to work hard. There's no magic to success. So go out there, work hard, you'll get there. Second one is that there are a lot of naysayers out there. People that says that, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't get that job, you can't be a director, you can't be a chief, you can't be a good badminton player. There are a lot of people out there that will doubt you automatically, but just remember that never doubt yourself. And the third one is that find a leader, in life, find a leader, find a mentor. It can be your coach, it can be your current boss, which is so good and he's a good leader to help you in life because they are more experienced. They'll give you good advice. They'll coach you for your success, and they are not doing for the money or the fame. So these are the 3 things I want to give to all the listeners.
And Ernest, if I can also add on to the point 3 about having a mentor or a coach, is just about a different perspective. Sometimes we're so close to the problem or so close to what we're doing that we can't see. It's like staring at something really closely and then someone saying, hey, look at the big picture, take a step back. And I think that difference in perspective is really helpful as well when you have a mentor. Yeah,
that's actually a very good point there. And I before this podcast, I actually was listening to Jeff as a guest himself, that when he was talking about the World Championships where he was actually a coach, isn't it? You were a tournament coach for Gronya and Simon. And that day was actually my birthday, and I was spending time in New Zealand watching that match.
Oh, really?
So I was very surprised. I was like, oh, that's Jeff. Before that match, I did actually spoke to Simon and also Gronya and wish them, the best. And they actually won that match. I was so happy for them. It's so different to when you have a good mentor and coach. They actually help broaden your vision and what you can actually see and take advantage, and how they actually take you to the next level in your career, in your badminton life, on your tennis life. So having a good mentor, having a good coach really changes your life.
Cannot agree more with that comment. So Ernest, if someone listening would like to get in contact with you just to ask you for some advice, whether it be related to badminton, related to tennis, the transition from the two sports, or how to get into Kayo or be part of a job or a position that feels like they're playing badminton every single day without having to change a t-shirt, how would they be able to get in contact with you?
I'm easily reachable through LinkedIn. Drop me a message. We can chat on LinkedIn, or we can even, catch up for a good cup of coffee. So I'm happy to share the ways around it. And just always open for a good chat.
Great. Thanks, Ernest. And thank you so much for coming on to our podcast today.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
So this brings us to the end of the podcast. Listeners, I'm sure you've gained some very valuable advice from Ernest during this podcast. As far as what I found as one of the key takeaways was to understand that there will always be naysayers out there with whatever decision that you might make in life, and that through persistence and hard work, you can actually achieve some really great results, just like Ernest has with badminton, and hopefully going into tennis in the future as well.
And Ernest, I want to say thank you from myself as well, and also reiterate the importance of using sport to your advantage. So just a quick personal story for myself. When I applied for my first dental job, I actually got the first dental job that I applied for. And when I asked the guy who owned the dental practice why he employed me, it wasn't anything related to my academic successes. Of course, it was important that I had graduated, but it was the badminton. It was literally the badminton and the sport that put me ahead of a lot of people. So I would just recommend to everyone out there who is thinking of applying for a position or just selling their personal brand, to include sports in there, include badminton in there, whether you're a social player, a club player, state, national, whatever you do, something extra will come from there, because in sports, you can learn so many things about life, business, academics, studying, all that kind of stuff, and being productive and using your time wisely, as we've already spoken about. So I think that's a huge takeaway from me, and reiterating the importance of using sport to our advantage.
Thanks for tuning in to the Badminton Podcast. We will continue to push you to grow as a person and as a player with special guests like Ernest Ng. Make sure that you keep sharing your love of the sport with everyone, and let's show the world how incredible badminton, our sport, is. And tennis is great too, but we love badminton here, okay?
Because this is the Badminton Podcast, Ernest.
Well, you never know. I might pick up that racket again.
Let's hope. I hope someone's going to contact you later and say, come on, let's go have a hit of badminton. I actually had a really good friend who's an orthodontist, and we had a day where we played tennis first and then badminton after. And it was a good day because we got both sports in. So hopefully some people are going to contact you about that.
All right. Looking forward to it.
And if anyone wants to contact us, so myself, Jeff, or Henry, you can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook and YouTube. Our social media handle is Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR. And you can also contact us on our website at www.volantwear.com.
Bye.
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 This podcast was brought to you by Volantwear, the most versatile badminton apparel you'll ever own.